You quit on a Thursday, no drama, quiet, with a personal reasons line in the HR email you rewrote 6 times. At home, you open your laptop and stare at the number in the corner of the screen, $10,000 a month. It isn't wealth, it's confirmation. Someone is paying for the thing you built alone at night. You tell your parents you're working on a project. You don't tell them the project is everything you have. Savings drain into server costs and the coffee that's replaced breakfast. You close your first big deal at 11 at night and sit in the dark kitchen, listening to the fridge hum, thinking, it worked. The next week, a client cancels. You lose 8% of revenue over one email. And the strange thing is, you're not sad. You're alert in a way that feels almost sharp, like the loss proves the game is real. You write in your notebook, fix churn, and that's your first lesson. Not about the product, about how fast the number in the corner of the screen becomes your only real conversation partner. The month closes at $11,200. You tell yourself, from here, only growth. You always tell yourself that. 14 months later, you've hired your first employee, then a second. You have a pitch deck, even though you swore you'd never raise money. You swear less often than you used to. You take money from an angel you know, not because you need it, but because you're afraid of being outrun without it. You don't log that as fear. You log it as strategic partnership. Monthly churn isn't 8% anymore. It's $15,000 in real money. You feel it differently now, somewhere under your ribs. Your hands don't shake on calls anymore. You tell yourself, that's composure. You close a deal with a major client on a Tuesday, a $22,000 annual contract off one call. You lean back in your chair like something cracked open inside you. Your girlfriend asks what you're smiling about. You say, just work. She's stopped asking about a lot of things lately. A month later, your best engineer leaves for a competitor. You panic hire 3 replacements too fast. Payroll tax eats the buffer. The company balance drops from $84,000 to $31,000 in 6 weeks. You don't tell your investor right away. You push the update meeting back twice. This is where it starts at this level. The hidden accounting. Not a lie exactly. An edit. You emphasize the $22,000 contract. Forget the payroll bleed. You cross $1 million in annual revenue on a Wednesday. You've been waiting for this threshold the way other people wait for a promotion. It took almost 2 years. Some of it came from the product. Most of it came from the sleep you stopped getting, which you now call growth phase. You have a real office now, an OKR board, a private Slack channel with 2 other founders where people trade metrics at 4 a.m., and nobody thinks it's strange. You think of yourself as a founder now, not someone building a product. A founder. There's a difference. And you feel it the first morning you wake at 6:40 and check the dashboard before you're fully conscious. At this level, a new kind of pressure arrives. Consistency. A good quarter used to feel like luck until you had to repeat it. Now you're tracking metrics, CAC, LTV, churn, burn rate. The numbers tell a story, and it isn't the one in your head. Growth stalls for 3 months straight. Not catastrophic, just consistent in a way that means something. You're wrong about something at a repeatable level, and you don't know what it is. That specific uncertainty, experienced enough to know you're wrong, not experienced enough to know why, is the most dangerous place in this entire journey. It's where founders burn out without understanding what hit them. You hire a consultant for $15,000. He tells you things you already knew. What he actually gives you is permission to trust yourself again. That's worth the money. It's also a little unsettling. Once you realize you were paying for belief, not knowledge. Your girlfriend moves out in October. No fight. She says you're somewhere else even when you're in the room. You don't argue, because she's right. You both know it, and there's nothing left to say after that. The year closes at $1.4 million ARR. The company is alive. You're not sure yet that it's good. It happens faster than you expected and slower than you hoped. You cross 8 figures in annual run rate on an ordinary Tuesday, and the main thing you notice is that you don't notice. 3 years ago, this number would have been a fantasy you'd have been embarrassed to say out loud. Now it's a line item in a board deck. The money has become a tool. Tools don't impress you. You close a Series B, give the board 2 seats, sign terms you would have called unacceptable a year ago. A lawyer explains liquidation preference to you, and you nod like you always understood it. You think about your ex sometimes in the 2 minutes between one call ending and the next one starting. Then the next call starts, and you stop thinking about it. That's the new skill at this level, closing a thought the way you close a deal. Clean. No ceremony. At this level, you start to understand what product market fit actually is. It isn't a pitch. It isn't a slide. It's a statistical reality that needs enough repetitions to prove itself. Most people burn out before the sample size is large enough. You understand now you are almost one of them. You also start to understand what the market actually is. It isn't a mechanism. It isn't a system. It's a collection of humans making decisions in real time, with incomplete information and overlapping incentives. When you win a deal off a competitor, someone else loses a team, salaries, years. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. And clarity, you're discovering, is not the same thing as peace. You find the other people at this level, they talk differently. Quieter, no hype, precise, boring questions about unit economics. You feel more at home around them than anywhere else. And you notice, with a small, flat feeling you don't quite want to name, that most other conversations have started to feel slightly tiresome. You don't feel like celebrating. This isn't modesty for a camera. You genuinely don't feel it. 9 figures on the cap table, and the primary emotion is a low, steady pressure. The kind that doesn't spike, because it never leaves. You feel it when you wake up. You feel it on Saturdays when markets are closed and Slack is still humming. You feel it at dinner with your parents, when your mother asks how things are going and you say, good, and change the subject. Your decisions are surgical now. You've learned to wait in a way the version of you at $10,000 MRR couldn't have understood. You have rules you've broken exactly twice in 5 years, and both times the market punished you immediately, as if it had been watching. Maybe it's superstition, maybe it's pattern recognition. You're no longer sure where one ends and the other begins. At this level, you start to feel the weight of your own presence. Your hire for a top role moves the labor market in your niche. Your partnership decision shifts an entire industry's alignment. You've become part of the machine you used to just watch. That should feel powerful. Sometimes it does. More often it just feels like responsibility without any ceremony. You don't talk about the company's valuation, not because of any rule, but because you've seen what happens when people find out. The way people's eyes change, the calculations you can watch running behind them, the careful phrasing that replaces whatever they used to say plainly. You don't participate in that. Your social circle has contracted to a radius that holds almost no one. 2 people, maybe 3. You tell yourself, focus requires this, that you'll reconnect with everyone else after the next milestone. You've been telling yourself that since $100,000 MRR. The next milestone always arrives. The reconnection never does. Your mother calls on a Sunday. You let it go to voicemail because you're staring at a metrics dashboard and don't want to be interrupted. For about 4 seconds, something about that bothers you. Then the next task loads and the feeling closes itself. Just like level 4 taught you, clean, no ceremony. The call from the investment bank comes at 6 a.m. Not urgent. That isn't how it works at this level. It comes scheduled, professional, from someone whose only job is making sure your equity is positioned before the next round. You take it in the kitchen, make coffee while you listen. You say 3 words and hang up. The coffee machine is louder than the call was. You've crossed into a tier where the money generates problems the money has to solve, tax structures that need restructuring, equity too large to sell without a pre-negotiated strategy, relationships with funds whose names you used to read about in the financial press. Now you see them in your phone, under first names,